Hello and welcome to Newsclick. I'm going to be speaking to Sanjna Kapoor, who for years was the director of Prithvi Theatre in Bombay and now has set up her own company called Junoon. Hi Sanjna.
Hello.
And lovely to have you on the show.
Thank you.
So, tell me a little bit about Junoon. Where did it start? How did it start? What's the idea behind Junoon?
I think it was in a strange way, a natural progression of years of working together with Sameera, 10 years actually, of also feeling that we needed, our impact of our dreams needed to just have a slightly broader reach rather than just this gorgeous but little space, which was Prithvi. And a lot of, the seed of where Junoon is today really began with Prithvi, began with what we wanted to do with Prithvi. That wasn't possible because the trustees didn't want it to happen. So we then branched off and created this new baby of ours called Junoon, which is hugely exciting. It is an organization that attempts to create many different access points of the performing arts, for the performing arts. Different platforms of engagement. 50%, we've realized this over the last year of really working and articulating. We're a year old or a year and a half old now. And the first year was very clear that in the first year we realized 50% of our work is going to be focused on children and young people and 50% on adults. And what is it we want to achieve at the end of the day? We want to see a world where the arts, and for us it's the performing arts, and then even more precisely theatre, are a fundamental part and an essential part of our daily life. And they should be as easily accessible as anything else that exists today, and they should be actually worked into our infrastructure of planning in our urban centres as essential as our schools or hospitals or roads or lights or water. Art centres or spaces where you can engage with the arts should be as critically planned and thought out. And that's a big faraway dream, but everything we do in Junoon is to try and work towards impacting that in our own little tiny way, and hopefully we'll create a ripple effect.
And so what are these small tiny first steps that you've taken?
Well, one thing that we've taken from Prithvi, which is something I started 23 years ago, which is our summertime program, where we work with kids. Started at Prithvi primarily to generate an audience of discerning people who would be able to decipher good from bad theatre, because I spent a year in 1990 watching every single play at Prithvi, and it was really at its lowest ebb, and it was just awful. So that was a reason. Also the fact that one knows how transformational engagement with the creative processes can be for children. So that was really important. And so now with Junoon, of course, we don't have to impact children's going back into any one particular space, but it is definitely going back into performing, watching the performing arts. So that is critical. What is really valuable about our children's program is that this treasure trove of conductors that we have pulled together over the years, who are all professionals in the field, and I think that's the two things are possibly the discerning factor of our workshops, our summer workshops. One is that they're process-based, so they're not result-oriented. It's really the process that a child goes through of discovery of their creativity, which is the central core of everything we do. And it's an attitude of how to work. It's also the rigor and discipline of it all, but it's hugely joyful. And the second thing is our professional conductors, who are all people working in the field. So whether they're writers, poets, dancers, actors, directors, they actually bring to the designing of their workshop their life's experience in the field, which is very different from a trainer or a teacher. And that is our value. But that's one thing we're doing with Junoon. The other things that we are hoping to start out to embark on this year, and really very soon, is a highly wonderfully exciting but ambitious and incredibly nerve-wracking school membership program. So the school membership program looks at bringing 11 different engagements to school children through the year, where they experience professional arts. Some of it is in the form of a pure performance, some of it is in an arts encounter, where some part of a performative art gets demystified, and then they get to see the actual performance. Some of it is in the form of workshops for parents and teachers, not for children, because we have to touch those people who influence kids. We actually sat back. It was really quite a delicious experience of planning, because we sat back and said, okay, what is it that we have? We have this wealth of art, the artists, and then what is it we can do to create the greatest impact in a school? And this is what we've come up with. And actually, I think it's very delicious. And I think a lot of principals we've met think it's delicious. And we've worked out the economics there, where it's not really astronomically expensive. It's very affordable and it's sustainable.
And so this is happening in
across
Bombay?
The country,
or?
Across the country. In fact, I think Bombay will be the last city to wake up to realizing how wonderful it is, because they just, ghar ki murgi, it doesn't make sense to them. But what we're looking for also is funding from larger organizations to fund NGO, smaller schools or low-income group schools, and so we can really touch, comfortably we can touch 100 schools a year, every year. So that's something that we're rolling out now. We have a neighborhood program that we want to start in Bombay, where we really want to, ideally, what would we like to see in the city of Bombay? That every ward has a real community center of the arts that is vibrant and has a life and brings in the local community and has an incredibly interesting mix of amateur and professional. It has to have the both, and that's the challenge. How do we actually merge both of them and keep quality high? But we're starting that out at the end of the year, slowly. We've embarked already on our corporate program, where we've done 2 workshops with corporates.
And so what if these?
Again, that's the wonderful challenge of trying to. These are not the regular corporate workshops where it's team building and public speaking, which are important, but that's not what we do. What we do is what we believe we can do is actually take the creative process of what you undergo in a workshop, of whether it's a theatre workshop or a dance workshop, and actually take that strength and address concerns that the corporate may have.
So tell me a little bit about your experience in Prithvi. Actually, 2 aspects of it. One is to do with the engagement with children through summertime and so on. Since you ran it for about 22, 23 years, did you see it sort of contributing a more conscious, a more vibrant, a more alive audience in the long run? Did that happen? Did you find that kids who had gone through the workshop actually then took to theatre and so on? So that's one aspect of what I want to ask you. The other aspect is actually Prithvi itself. What, in your opinion, made it such a special place for performers, for audiences and so on?
So that's 2 very different questions.
Absolutely.
So with kids, clearly we always said right in the beginning of every workshop that we're not here to make actors out of any of you or theatre practitioners. We want to make an audience out of you. We want you to fall in love with theatre. So that was our mandate when we were at Prithvi. If you did go on to become an actor, that was or director, that was a bonus. So there was a tiny, minuscule number of people that did, but or did go and continue to stay connected to the arts in some way or another. But and that is always thrilling, and that's lovely to know. In the early stages, we also did. Right from day one, we started with 3 workshops. I went and met Surabha Deshpande. When I decided I wanted to do this, I didn't know how to, and I went and sat at her feet and I said, help, what am I to do? And she introduced me to a few people, and I went and saw a lot of Marathi, because in those days Marathi and Gujarati were the stronghold of workshops for children and for plays for children, and the Hindi and English had virtually nothing. And so we then pulled together 2-3 people, and we started with 3 workshops, and they were tiny, and then it grew. Last year we had 45, and this year we've come down to 35, but it's grown and grown and grown. One thing we always did right from the beginning was and this wasn't my idea. I think I was rummaging through, because I started working in Prithvi after my mother died, right? I was part of the first festival, which was wonderful, where she was in 1983. And she died in 84, and I joined in 1991. I kept myself away with great trepidation because I was so terrified of the hugeness of it all and the responsibility. But rummaging through the storeroom, I found these membership cards, which were absolutely gorgeous. And I then figured that there was obviously an intent to create some kind of a membership scheme, but it never happened. So I stole that idea and we created membership cards for these kids. And so every child over all these years has become a member for 1 year of Prithvi Theatre. It's the only membership we've ever had, where you get this card and for 1 year you can come and see plays for children, free, for an entire year. So you can see the same play. If it's running 20 times, you can come and see it 20 times in the year, again and again and again and again. But we know you won't come alone. So you'll come with your mama, your papa, your grandparents, your friends. And so it's a very devious way of building an audience, which it really did. I mean, that following, and also the pride that you're the only creatures on earth who have this, and nobody else, your parents don't get it, nobody else gets it. And that sense of belonging was really, really strong and really powerful. So, I mean, there were these little, I think it was just the fact that you were very, very clear what you wanted, and then everything else just that fitted in to make that happen. Which of course, it changes ever so slightly here with Junoon. So now we don't have membership cards with Junoon, because we don't have really access to programming plays at the moment, though we hope in the future we will. And we are looking at some kind of a membership with Junoon, but it's going to be different because of the nature of our existence today. And we do believe it's important to build loyalty. So I mean, I would say that the workshops have evolved. One has taken chances and pulled in people, and it's interesting. Somebody, my grandfather always used to say, and I'm going to connect this to what somebody else said about.
Which grandfather are you talking
hang on, Jeffrey Kendall. Okay, when he would interview an actor, he would say, auditions are bloody nonsense. You don't need auditions. You don't need to audition an actor. You should watch an actor walk into the room, pull up a chair and sit down, and you know if he can act or not. I was like, okay, very clever. So then, of course, I come from this tradition, okay? And so Sameera will tell you also, when I had to interview her, what did I do? I sat and talked to her. I didn't interview her. I told her about my dream, and she has to follow my dream or be with me or understand the dream, right? So we come from a peculiar family. But somebody told me recently who works with corporates, and she does corporate workshops, but she also is a dancer, and she also was doing workshops with us. And she said, you're the only organization, when I came in to do a children's workshop, you just chatted with me, and you never asked me my workshop plan, my day-to-day plan of my workshop. And no, I've never asked anybody that. And we have about 25 workshop conductors. And actually, we've talked about it informally or in different ways, and now with our more structured peer sharing workshops that we conduct within us, we do look at it.
Thanks very much, Sanjna, for
Thank
providing us with some insight and sharing with us the excitement of your new venture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.